Welcome. Today we're going to be working through some yoga-based movements designed to help us achieve the lateral splits. We're going to be working through some repetitions, some rooting and yielding, if you will, to develop a little warmth and a little fire and finding some stretches. And let's begin in the middle of our mat. Find your way into a neutral standing pose, rooting your feet about hip width. Spine is long. And take a couple of nice full vessel breaths here, inviting that oxygen into our blood flow. And when you're ready, find your spine long and let's take a seat in chair pose, Utkatasana. This posture has its way of building fire in and of itself. And breathe through here for a moment. No breath holding. Find a gaze if you like. And when you're ready, we're going to work through what I like to call chair rises, finding our reach to the ground and sweeping it low and rise into that extension. And again, sweep it low and rise and repeat. And again. One more. And now push all the way back up into mountain pose, finding your legs strong, engaging the quads, engaging the hamstrings. Legs are rooting up through the calves. And breathe here. And when you're ready, once more, take a seat in Utkatasana. Find a gaze if you need. I like to find my gaze high up. That way I feel it brings my energy up with it. And when you're ready, let's do some more rises. 1. And sweep it low. 2. And again, 3. 4. And 5. Push all the way up into a mountain. Find your legs strong. Spine in neutral. No tension in the neck. Take a couple of full vessel breaths. And when you're ready, we repeat the sequence. Find your hips low in chair. And be here for just a moment. And when you're ready, sweep it low. And again. And again. Almost there. 2 more. Feel that fire. And again. And from our chair pose, let us go all the way up. And a neutral standing pose. Legs are still strong. And while we're here, let's find a hinge in the hips and a hinge in the knees. And fold. Hands meet the ground. Neck is loose. Bend as much as you need. You may also meet blocks. And take this moment of rest. Still rooting through the feet, rooting through the hands. Neck is loose. Spine is long. We have a posterior body stretch going on. And when you're ready, we are going to hinge back up into our chair. Now from here, you may be here, or if you wish, we can rise to our tippy toes and feel that work. And breathe here. And descend when you need. Back to the heels and rise into mountain. And take a moment before we repeat. Hips low in chair. Rise to the toes if you wish. Spine is tall. Heels may descend whenever you need. Back into mountain. Exhale into chair. And again, if you wish, rise to those toes. Exhale, letting your feet touch back down and back into mountain. One more time. Exhale, bringing those hips low. Rise to the toes if you wish. Exhale, let those heels touch. Keep the hinge and go ahead and find our way into that ragdoll pose. Root the hands where you need. Neck is loose. Spine is long. What I really enjoy about this posture, if you wish, you can toe heel a bit wider and really sink in and rock from side to side. Or forward and back. And when you're ready, toe heel in if you took that wider stance, and push back up into our mountain. And breathe here. Shake it out if you need. So we just worked in a narrow stance, kind of activating the sagittal plane. Now we're going to switch it and take a wider stance. So from here, we're going to work through some Goddess and Malasana. It does require a little bit of happy knee joints. If you find your knees are not happy, do not take it as deep. Find what works for you. We're still doing all the work. Additionally, you may take a seat on something like a chair, a table, or a cabinet as a meeting place. So let's begin with a wider stance, 2 to 3 hips maybe. If you need to adjust, we can do this toe heel in or out. Find your spine long. Take a couple of full vessel breaths. We've already invited that fire into our legs. Hands may be where you wish. You can support them on the hips. We may go heart center. So from here, we're only aiming for about halfway right now. So what I mean by halfway, our middle line. So find your stance for that posture. If you need, take a pause, find a chair, and come back to me when you're ready. If you're ready from here, we are going to find our spine long, bring those hips low, knees are coming out, and back up, straight. And again, and straighten. Hands may go where you wish. Feel free to try a few options out. Just find that movement and that flow that is yours. Almost there. Might be feeling that warmth accumulating in our hamstrings on the back. And let's take a moment to breathe here. The beauty about repetition is you know what's coming, you know what's next, and then you can begin to make these little things yours, your movement, your gait, your flow. So we all have a different way about us. And so again, we move through our little goddess squats. Find your spine long. Inhale and descend. And last one. And rest in our tall, wide-legged stance. Hands may rest on the hips. And we are going to do one more round like this. Really developing that warmth in our adductors and in our hamstrings back here. And so when you're ready, we are going for a final 10. Find your spine long, feet rooted, and descend. Almost there. 4, 6, 2 more. 1 more. And rise. Give yourself a moment to breathe it out. So from here, we're going to do some wide-legged malasana folds. This is something I like to play with and incorporate, also to invite a bit of warmth. So we're going to narrow our stance a little bit. And malasana varies for everyone, so do play with this and find your stance. I'm going to find a bend. My hammies and my calves are meeting. If yours do not, that is absolutely okay. You may be supported on something as well. Maybe a yoga block or a chair. Coffee tables are also great as long as they're sturdy. And so from here, we're going to have our elbows inside our knees. And as we gently push out with that energy on our arms, our knees are going to be pushing back into our elbows. So take a few breaths here, finding that traction. Arms out, knees in. And you will find that this is ever so slightly a back bend. And keep breathing. We are doing work here. And from here, we're going to be finding our way into a forward fold. So I'm going to support myself with my hands. Note that we do not have to straighten our legs. We can still get that extension and that fold by keeping the bend. So to demonstrate, hands are rooted and I begin to rise the hips. You can absolutely stay here. We're pulling the hips back. Arms are rooted. My shoulder blades are opening up across my back. Neck is long. And if your body welcomes that extension, go ahead and find that fold. Neck is loose, legs are strong. And from here, we make our way back into our malasana. Bending the knees, hips come back down. I still have traction with my fingers, helping to pull my sternum back through and forward. And release the hands and find that outward push and greet it with the knees, finding that inward push. And we repeat, find your fold, plant your hands, bring those hips back up, and be seated in malasana. And find your rhythm. Plant the hands, bring those hips back up. And let us shift those hips back down into our malasana. Weight off the hands. And repeat. Plant the hands for your fold. And rise the sternum and seat the hips back in malasana. And a couple more times. Plant the hands, rise the hips. Lower the hips, rise the sternum. And again, plant the hands, rise the hips. And maybe this time you're stationary, or if you wish, you can find some forward and back rocking, supporting yourself with your hands. I enjoy this because I really feel it in my calves and my lower leg here. And just be here for a moment. If you feel tension behind the knees, invite a micro bend. This is absolutely still a forward fold. And when you're ready to exit, seat the hips back into malasana. So from here, we go back into our goddess squats, this time inviting a little bit more movement and variation. So I'm in my malasana here, feet nice and rooted. We're going to rise back into our goddess pose, and you may remain in goddess, or if you wish to invite an additional challenge, then we will shift up to our tippy toes like we did in that chair pose. You are welcome to remain connected to the earth if you want to skip that part. From our tiptoe rise, we then descend to the full foot, and then we lower into malasana. This is going to be a lot of work. Rest when you need. We're going to have some jitters in our legs. That's fine. We're doing the work. Embrace it. Just try and grab that form and counter whatever is there. That's part of the fun. So from malasana, rise into goddess, up onto the toes, back onto the feet, into malasana. And do toe heel your stance as you need, because we are moving some things together and kind of meeting postures in the middle. So again, from malasana, goddess, up onto the feet. I think I went there first. And then back down. And again, rise and descend. I feel the burn already. And find your pace. We're going to do this in repetition. And if your body wants to push straight up to the toes, just find your flow. And breathe. And again. And try and slow that descent. And I started to shift my balance, but my body wanted to use my arms to counter that. That is absolutely okay. That is part of us finding our flow. And while we want to move in a natural form and in a singular track, life doesn't always work that way. And it is nice to be able to meet yourself in the middle, wherever you are. And let's take a rest right here. Let that fire work. Let's sink into this malasana. And then we are going to use that fire and fold. And take a moment to be here. Neck is loose. Legs are strong. Hands may support you on the earth, on your hips, wherever you so choose. This is your practice. And from here, we are going to take a wider stance and really finish off this fire with some adductor work. So from here, I'm going to widen like so. And we're going to do some Skandasana or side lunge work, depending on what you like to call it. So from our full rise, we're going to descend to one side, rise, descend to the other. We're going to feel this right here. But all at the same time, when we are working through our lateral splits, this wide stance, we need to have warmth in the front and in the back, absolutely. But where we are stretching significantly is in our adductors right here, from our knee up to our hip. We have lots of little muscles just right there. And so this is going to be a nice way to target them. So when you're ready, find yourself tall. Exhale, one side. Find yourself tall. Exhale, opposite side. If you find you're not enjoying this range, we can again be seated on something. Coffee table, perfect height. And when you're ready to repeat, and again, 4, 5, tall, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 2 more, 15, 16, and rise into our wide-legged stance. Who else has got a little quadsi jiggle right here? Feeling it. So through our next set, we can continue the same way, finding that transition at a high space, or if you wish to invite more of a challenge, we can find our transition from a low space. So to demonstrate, find our spine tall, feet rooted, rise and descend. 1. If you wish to go low, we're going to scoot it over. If you want to go high, we can do that too. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 2 more, 13, 14, and rise. Feel those legs. Rest in a more narrow stance if you wish. I find I do wish. And so we have one more set of these. We can work through high posture, low posture, whatever you prefer. Take a few full vessel breaths, giving yourself a breather. And when you're ready, we're working through 12 on our next set. If you wish, you can go high and then you can go low and change it up. What's fun about these movements are the variables available to you. And the more fun we have, the more likely we are to come back. And so again, find your spine long. I'm going to choose to go low on my set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And this time, if you wish, you may be seated. Spine is tall. Use your hands to lift your chest if need be. Additionally, you can use this arm to really root out and push that heart space forward if you like. Find your extension leg strong, and if you wish, you may find a bind. Breathe here. And when you're ready, we work our way to the opposite side, sweeping it over, letting that hip be seated. Use your arms if you like to help that spine be upright. And breathe here. And again, we work our way to the opposite side, sweeping it low. I'm going to take a seat. You may remain here. If you wish to bind into infinity, I'm going to take my left hand and bind it to my right ankle. If you want to bind the other arm, we're going to take our right, reach over. Do not close if you do not wish, but if you find yourself able to make that connect, welcome to infinity. Gaze may be up or down. And then if you have this bind of the right hand, really allow this connection to open that side body. And when you're ready, release and use this leg in pushing you back upright. And to the opposite side, scoot on over and let those hips be seated. Remain here if you like, or if you like to bind, I'm going to take my now right hand and connect it to my left ankle and my left arm, finding it long and bending it a little to make that connect. And whenever you're ready to release, go ahead and use your extended leg to push yourself upright. And let us rise into a wide-legged posture and take it a little more narrow. So we're going to finish up in a butterfly pose, a reclining butterfly pose. So be seated. Our feet are going to go together here. You may support them by supporting your knees if you like, depending on where your butterfly is. We don't like to be hanging out in space in our joints, so to speak. So if you find your knees more upright, you can stuff some pillows, roll up a blanket, lasso your knees with your yoga strap, or support it with yoga blocks, whatever you prefer. Finding our feet together, we're going to have a little push, connecting them and engaging, again, our hamstrings and our little adductors. And so from here, find your way into a supine posture. Get your scapula nice and cozy. Feet together, supporting your knees if you like. Hands may go out beside you. My ponytail's in the way. There we go. And so from here, we are literally just allowing our hips and our muscles to open, to take a moment and utilize visualize all that fire we've accumulated and breathe into the relaxation of the muscles, still keeping our foot connected to our other foot. Tuning in to your legs, to your breath, to your body. And remain here as long as you wish. If you feel you'd like to finish with a Shavasana, you may find extension in your legs and rest here as long as you wish. So the journey to the splits is not one we do in a day, but with enough care and dedication and tending to the muscles and the body, we can unlock the things that we desire to achieve. Absolutely. But you don't want to overly push. Injuries do hold us back. Do meet yourself with compassion. If you feel you'd like to dabble with a little bit of splits right now, we can find an extension here and just tune in to how the body is feeling. And if you feel you are sufficiently warm, we can inch it a little bit further, see how we feel here, inch it a little bit further maybe, keeping our legs strong, toes pointed up. And from this line right here, I'm actually already almost in the lateral splits. So do tune into your body, check in along the way, give yourself recovery time as we are breaking down the muscles. As we build them, it's a journey of giving and taking and giving and taking, rooting and yielding, again, if you will. Thanks for tuning in and happy practice.